So, good morning, listeners and viewers. A real warm welcome to Kirsty, to the British Business Podcast. And we're here in this amazing building in central Edinburgh in the flagship branch for Royal Bank of Scotland. I'm delighted to welcome Kirsty. And what I'd like to do is hand over straight to Kirsty to find out a little bit about Kirsty, but also the business that she works with and for, and understand what you do.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Kirsty Allan. I'm the Performance Director of City Access Scaffolding, based here in Edinburgh. And this is our 8th year of trading. So a relatively new business, but we're getting to grips.
And when you say your title, what does that involve?
The Performance Director is a title that I changed because it was something that I selected, because initially I was a business development director and I just didn't like that title. Okay. It was sometimes it closed doors rather than opened them, and that's not the purpose of the role. So there's a big focus for me on our staff and their performance. So I just thought I would combine the roles, and that's where we got to Performance Director.
Can you give us a little bit of background into the company, what it does and how it performs and what's happened over the last couple of years especially?
Well, we started trading in 2014, very small, just myself and my 2 business partners, and we've grown We've grown organically, but significantly over those 7 years, and had growth during the pandemic. So we're scaffolding erectors. We started off doing sort of small scale domestic erection of scaffolding just for residential properties, with the view of hopefully we'll eventually get into sort of commercial projects, which that happened quite quickly. And in my initial role as business development, I just knocked on doors and helped the business grow, and took it from our first year of trading, 97,000. No, it was 87,000 in our first year. And as I said, in 2021, 2022, we had growth, and this year hopefully we'll reach over 3 million turnover. So it's grown through the challenging times, but we worked really hard together for that growth during that time. And
when you first started out in 2014, how many people were involved in the business, and what's that?
Myself and my 2 business partners. One is my husband, and the other is our friend and business partner. It was just the 3 of us. An old 03 pickup van that the children used to dance on and put music on outside our house, working around, like many businesses, working around a kitchen table. It was simple as that. They worked offshore, working in the scaffolding industry. I was, at that point, I've done many things. I was part of the entrepreneurship programme. It was called Entrepreneurial Spark, that again was funded by RBS and Scottish entrepreneurs, Tom Hunter and Anne Gloag. And I went through that programme with a different business. And my children were quite young at that time. And I just said, you guys need to come back and work at home. So during the time when they would go off to work, I would find jobs for them to do when they were home. Then they would go away for a couple of weeks. For those 2 weeks that they were home, get back, do some jobs, start to grow the business kind of slowly, and we just built from there.
Oh, and you mentioned the term offshore. What does that mean to some of the people who are listening to it?
So they were based in Aberdeen, and they had worked offshore for 10 years, being scaffolders themselves, went offshore to provide scaffolding, and they worked for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and then came home for 2 or 3 weeks. But when you're a young family, having an offshore wage at that time when I was working and my husband would be working, it was a good income for a young family. But then when you go on and you have your own family, I was only working part-time, so I set up another business, an online children's business, and then I joined Entrepreneurial Spark, and I learned a lot from there. But when my husband worked offshore, he would miss so much. So there could be a death, and if you're away for 2 weeks, there could be a death and a funeral, and then you come back and you've missed it all. So we just felt that he was missing a lot of time with our children, so we wanted him to come here.
And where is offshore? What does that mean?
offshore on the oil rigs,
okay.
offshore on the oil rigs in Aberdeen.
Okay. So they're literally in the sea.
Yeah.
And they sleep there.
And they're based there. Yeah. It's quite, it can be quite a lonely life, but it can also be, a lot of fun as well. They'll pretend that it's not, but it is. You know, all their food is prepared for them. There's a gym. Sometimes there's movies. They play cards at night. And I think for a time in someone's life, that can really work. But like if you have, a community with the people that you work with, sort of work-life balance, then you come home and you're in your family. You're immersed into that. You can go play golf for a day. But when your children are little, that sometimes work because you're spending a lot of time with your children.
Sure.
But then when they go off to school, you're only seeing them for that, those couple of hours after school, straight to bed. So, and if your partner or your wife or your husband, they work here, then it can be quite lonely. And it came to a point where there wasn't much growth offshore also. Okay. I'm sometimes not comfortable with the word entrepreneur, but I've got quite an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm always after the next thing.
Why is that?
I don't know. I find it quite, I don't know. I just, for me, we founded a business and we've got a lot of drive and ambition. I've not got to the root of that yet, but I'm not very comfortable. Yeah, still working it out. But yes, the transition from offshore oil rig work to then coming home, it was just literally an opportunity came where my husband, when he was coming home, would do a couple of days here or there for maybe another scaffolding company, a friend that he would know just work for a day. I was thinking, you need to do this. You need to do this by yourself.
So going back to the scaffolding company, so it started out with 3 of you?
Yes. Working
out of your home, out of a bedroom, office?
Well, obviously there's not, an office as such. The work is on the ground. The work is on the job. Yep. So it was me with a laptop. I could be in a coffee shop.
Okay.
I could be, I'd drop my kids off at school and then stay local to school and just sit in a coffee shop. And they would go off, do the jobs, hopefully do a good job. I can sell them then to other people, use my network, and that's what we did initially. Being quite outgoing, I do have a network, so I tapped into that. And they had the network of staff. So it went from 3 very quickly. Within, I think, the first year, it was maybe 6 people. And then, it rolled on from there.
What is it today?
We're just about to sort of peak at 50 now.
50?
Yeah, 50.
So in 7 years, you've had that straight line up to getting more jobs, bringing in more staff.
Yes.
It's a great introduction into talking about staff in terms of team members, attracting and retaining staff.
Yes.
It's something that I hear almost on an hourly basis these days. And I know something close to your heart is about mental wellness and mental well-being. Again, I hear about that on an hourly basis when we talk to any of the people on the podcast, when I talk to my clients, when I talk to potential clients. We're always talking about staff, team members, our workforce. Mm-hmm. Very important, critical. We used to ask a question in the olden days about, are your staff liabilities or are they assets? I had a lot of people in 20, 30 years ago say to me that staff were always liabilities. Today, it would be folly for people to say they're liabilities. They need to be assets and we need to invest in them. In terms of how you've attracted people, what are the other things that you've done that could help some of our viewers and listeners? So
traditionally, I've got daughters, so I don't really like that, I'm a female in a very male-dominated industry, but essentially I am.
Sure.
So we are a staff of approaching 50. I think we're about 46 or 47 just now, and there's about to be another growth. And there's myself and our office manager, Claire. One of the things that I think that us as females, or myself initially, and then Claire has, contributed massively to that. But one of the things that I feel that I have brought to our business and is a little bit of, we stand out because I'm a female, but also because I approach things differently to my husband, who's my business partner, and my other business partner, Mark. At the beginning, when we first started, they were very used to offshore, which is the larger companies like Cape, who are huge international company. So they were done in the right things were done properly.
Sure.
So health and safety done properly. But when they were also just with men offshore with a bunch of scaffolders, and scaffolders, I'm not sure if you know this, they do not get the best reputation.
Okay.
So from, of all the trades, scaffolders, you can look it up. There's some really funny things. Some things are true, some things aren't. But they are known as the wild bunch.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they are. But it's also, they're also amazing. And it's not an environment that I was used to. But at the heart that these men, the majority of our staff, the core staff that we have, it's a heart like you've not seen anywhere. The generosity that these guys have and the way they look out for one another, it's really commendable. Now, when we started to grow, what I noticed is that the emotions would sometimes be, exaggerated sometimes, heightened, that's maybe a better word. And I have gone through kind of personal experiences where, and I don't know if that's part of being an entrepreneur, where there's highs and lows, is I get very excited when things are doing great, and then, I'm down really low when, the shit hits the fan. That's the honest truth. And I could see that certain members of staff were similar. And we held our first, it was our first ever staff meeting, and we came to a place very similar to this. So to put a bunch of scaffolders, who like to, people think that they go for, a pint as soon as they finished. Maybe they're drinking throughout, going
so
for lunch.
Stigma.
There's a massive stigma. But I don't like that, because once you give someone a stigma, especially a young apprentice, they live up to that stigma. So what I like to, and what I like to tell them is that don't let anybody tell you who you are. They're fantastic. So when we did our first training, I want to speak really a lot about mental health, and so I've got agencies that if anyone was struggling, please come to me. But my husband was incredibly protective of me, and he said, I don't want you to talk about this. But I prepared, probably about 40 minutes worth of presentation for everyone. And he was really nervous, and he said, I just don't know how this will go down. We're scaffolders, they don't like talking about these things. But I was nervous, but I just went with it.
Is it scaffolders or men?
Yeah, as humans. Sure. And it was the best thing we ever done.
Really?
It was the best thing. And I honestly think from other companies and members of staff, attracting staff, I think that has really helped us. But it's come from a genuine place. So on that day, someone actually, when we spoke about it, someone reached out that night saying they were really, really struggling and not in a great place.
Wow.
And we've helped him, and he's helped us. And we've watched his journey, and his journey over a number of years has been pretty phenomenal. It's been lovely to watch. But because there were specific needs that needed to be met, it wasn't just, the door is open, we're here to talk, we're here to help. We knew we needed to do more. So as a company, and this is where, the performance side of my role came in, we offered an 8-week mindfulness course for our scaffolders. So there is a lovely man who worked in the corporate world. His name's Gary Young, and he is the founder of the Mindful Enterprise. And he offers an 8-week mindfulness course. It's 2 hours once a week. And we offer that, and a number of staff, not all of them. Initially, when we first set all this up, I kind of did push it down people's necks, but I've backed off. I understand the process now.
Come and get it rather than you
exactly. So we offered that. We now have quite a strong relationship with the Joshua Nolan Foundation, and that foundation was set up in 2014, where a mother lost her son due to suicide. So she's founded that, and there has been massive amount of fundraising, and we've done some fundraising for that as a team, doing Tough Mudder and those type of things. Sure. But our staff have also accessed the service of the Joshua Nolan Foundation. So what happens there is that it's 80% funded, and up to 80% funded. And it also allows immediate access to 8 sessions of counselling. So when someone is struggling, and whether you know this or not, but they say that it's 1 in 4 construction workers have considered suicide. I believe it's 1 in 2 now. Definitely.
3 months ago, we interviewed Steve Kerslake on this podcast from Construction Sport, and he highlighted to us that in construction, 2 people a day committing suicide.
Yeah.
Those numbers are horrific. Mm-hmm. I would like to just move to something which is very important, and that is about, okay, so you've talked about the things that you've done for the mental health and well-being, which is, I can't wait to talk to you afterwards about that particular journey of that particular person, which is an amazing story. It's very private to that individual, though, and these things are completely confidential, need to be. But I'm really interested in sort of how the pandemic affected the business. You said that you grew in the pandemic.
Well,
How did that happen?
Well, we did. So we had a great year prior to the pandemic.
Okay.
March 24th. So we were on route to having a fantastic year. So obviously it affected us.
Sure.
But from the growth from the previous year, there was still growth.
Okay.
We were obviously down tools. I think it was for just over 3 to 4 months. So we were allowed to, go back to site, albeit at times, part-time, the flexi furlough, and then sometimes, other things would be delayed and then they'd be off again. We approached that with help. And one of the things that I think is a strength from myself is that I'm not afraid to ask for help. So there is a couple of companies throughout the country. One, again, is a female, she's female-led. Well, it's a female-led scaffolding company down in London. A lady called Helen, and they have a company that, they have staff of nearly 300. So if I can learn from someone that has 300 staff, I'm going to tap into that.
Wow.
And this... Helen has been super help, and she said, I called her and said, what are you guys doing? What do you think we should do? And she said, you just come together as a team, keep everyone engaged. We were doing that, but she's just, don't forget about your clients. And when she said that, I just thought, we need to, need to do the school, need to get the home learning done. That got done in the morning. And then myself, Johnny and Mark came together on Zooms in the afternoon, and we were come together with how can we get ourselves back to work. We are, yes, we can be outdoors, but you still need a squad. You still need 3 people to erect a job. How can they work where there's social distancing?
Sure.
So we created a video to show people how to erect a scaffold. It was tricky because it's out of the norm. It's not what you normally do. So we done that. We sent that to clients. We sent that video that got picked up by ISG. They used that and sent that across their network, and used us as an example of how to be proactive in the pandemic.
And did that help?
Yeah, it really helped. What it done is it helped us to become, when they picked up on it, we were thinking, actually, there was conversations to be had now. And it also meant that people that, maybe companies that we would like to work with, that maybe, would send us 1 or 2 tenders, but we maybe hadn't quite just got there. And with us, it's not always, if it's just about price, we're not the company for the main contractor. However, those sort of decision makers, some of them touched base. We set up meetings. We had open conversations. We told them it was an opportunity for us to actually tell them about us as a business, who we are, what our values are, how we look after our staff, and sort of the vision for the future. So, we used that as an opportunity to sort of knuckle down, and it helped. So, that's what we done.
Is there anything that you would like to touch on more that we've missed this morning? Would you like to talk about something specific that would?
I think in probably where we're going.
Okay, that would be great.
Where we're going in
the next
sense,
financial year?
Well, yeah, but the next 2 years I think are going to be
years.
really interesting for everyone. You know, with inflation, with the cost of living, we've got to, you know, look after our staff. It's, you know, the business hopefully will remain profitable, but our staff, you see people struggling just now. I can see the difference. The business can see the difference in the fuel, the outgoings, the cost, the materials. So our staff can see that. So again, having conversations with other people is that, you know, with Brexit, where is the funding coming from? It's great, but the construction is booming just now. But the next couple of years, whether that's still the case and whether our business is still growing the next couple of years, who knows? So we're hoping to maybe diversify a little bit. The commercial sector is very aggressive and it's often very price driven. And for us, we're not the lowest. Okay. So we need people to see past that. It's about the service.
Sure.
You know, it can be it can cost twice. If you know you go with the cheapest, it's common sense. But I think we're kind of approaching the next couple of years similarly to COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you think?
Not COVID in the sense of just how we sort of embrace one another and the team. I think there's going to need to be a feel. This is the aftermath of COVID. And this is where, again, we're seeing the aftermath of mental health. So, you know, our guys were back out to work, but that doesn't mean their wives at home were, you know, some of them were made redundant. The children, exams. There were things going on in their homes that were inevitably going to affect their working life. So where I think we just now need to do is just sort of make sure that we maintain that sort of family spirit, and I don't want to ever lose that. We obviously, of course, we want growth and we want to grow our business and be successful, but not to the detriment of everyone else.
And finally, does that mean that you've set a goal for the next 1, 2, 5, 10 years as to where you want to be? Is it staff numbers? Is it turnover? Is it profit?
What's profit? Yeah.
Okay.
It's profit. It's maintaining. I think just now where we are is a nice space. It's manageable. I would like to see a more solid management staff, sort of group within the business, where it's not solely reliant on myself, Mark and Johnny.
Sure, of course.
No, can we take a step back? Can we let other people shine? So work-life balance, that would be, we're getting there.
Working on the business, not in the business.
Yeah, I'm always working on the business.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kirsty, for coming in today. It's been fascinating speaking to you. And until next time,